In this lesson, we'll begin to explore Max's curve editor. The curve editor is what we're going to use to really finalize our animations. More often than not, all of the high quality animations that you see being produced by Max have not avoided this curve editor. So it's going to be vital that we understand how to use this very robust tool. So to access the curve editor, we have a number of ways to do that. We can go to our graph editors menu and choose it from here. One of our track views, it's actually the first choice. Or we can open up a miniature curve editor. But again, not everything is in this. This is just a condensed version. Go ahead and close this out. And another way is to simply select our object, right click, and choose curve editor. And right underneath we see the dope sheet. Okay, so now opening this up, what we see to our left is our track view hierarchy, similar to the dope sheet. And again, to our right we see our workspace, represented as a graph. Now what we should also see are a few gray dots, and we also see these curves here. These are our F-curves, and the gray dots are our keyframes. So if you can't see these, what you'd want to check is your auto expand. You can basically right click on one of your tracks and quickly access auto expand. So if we were to turn a few of these off, you can see that by default when we open up the curve editor, we're just going to see our object. But we can right click, go to auto expand, and show transforms. See all of our transform tracks. We can right click again and show the XYZ components. And this is the same as going to option and turning on the same from the auto expand drop down menu. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and understand what these F curves show us. If I were to just focus on one of these, let's say the position X, what we see is actually a change in value over time, not the path of action of this animation. Because if we were to hit play, we see the path of action of this animation, and it's definitely not what we're seeing in our position X track. So again, it's just a change in value over time. Now, what we also see at the top is the curve editor toolbar, similar to what we saw in the dope sheet, only there are a few unique tools to the curve editor. We have scale keys. This is similar to scale time, but we also have scale value. So watch this. If we were to select a few of our keyframes, we can choose scale value, and what this is going to do is basically give us this horizontal line that acts as our origin to know how we'd like to scale our key. So if I brought this to this mid key here and then use the left mouse button to drag one of our keys, you'll be able to see exactly how this works. So again, this is just the pivot of our scale. We can bring this red line down, and as we move our keys, you'll see how that now influences them. So scale is a way to intensify our values. I'll go ahead and toggle that off. We can either right click or basically go back to our move key tool. What we see next to this allows us to add keys, similar to the dope sheet. So if we were to choose this, this would be a great way to add keys in a clean type of way. Because as we add keys to just one F curve, that is, we're only going to add keys to that F curve and nothing else. So it's not like pressing the big key button or pressing the K key. If I were to go ahead and select a few more of these tracks, we can clearly see that. So I click on one of these F curves, you'll be able to see, alright, only one key is being added here. Now, if we like, we can now right click and choose the same option, or we can quickly go to our move keys tool and even the scale values tool. I'll just go back to the move keys tool. Great, so I'll even go ahead and delete that key. We can do that by simply selecting the key and pressing delete on our keyboard. Next, what we have is basically a tool that allows us to draw our own F curve. So if we were to choose this, draw a curve, watch what this is going to do for us. We can simply use the left mouse button to drag and make our own type of interpolation in here. But this might not be ideal at times. Maybe for an idea, but if we play the animation, notice how jumpy it looks. Now, working with all of these keys, it almost looks like motion capture data. It would be nice if we had a tool to optimize the amount of keys we have. And believe it or not, Max actually has that tool. It's called the Reduce Keys tool. It's right next to the Draw Keys tool. So if we were to choose this, we have a dialog that appears, and we're able to choose a different threshold value. So based off of whatever key we have selected, or based off of whatever track we have selected, if we were to increase this threshold amount maybe to like 5, that's going to remove more keys. So if I go ahead and press OK, it's going to compute and basically clean up the curve as much as it can. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and undo this back and right click. Alright, next what we have is our different tangent types, and we're actually going to discuss this in an upcoming lesson. Okay, so we won't worry about this just yet. We also have the ability to lock our selection from here. So what this is nice for, if we had a key selected and we use lock selection, as we move our key around, we don't necessarily have to be on the key to move it. Okay, so lock selection can be a very nice tool to use. Once with this off, we then go back to our select tool. Next we have parameter curve out of range, used for cycling our animations, and we're going to look at that a little bit later. The next button allows us to show us what is actually animatable. Okay, then we have show all tangents. The tangents are basically these lines on our keyframes. And we're going to take a look at that a little bit further as well later on. And then we can even lock tangents as well. The rest of these options here are for biped. That's Max's character animation system. So we're not going to go ahead and take a look at that in this intro kit. Okay, what we also have underneath is the ability to make track sets. Now this is very nice if we like to just filter certain tracks. So what this is useful for is, let's say if we wanted to focus on our position X, our position Z, and maybe even rotate Y. We can come down here to our track set and basically go ahead and create a new one. So here we have it. If we were to double click this or just click the plus sign to expand this, it'll show us all of the tracks located within. And what's nice is that, let's say if we were to click on another track. If we wanted to get back to our track set, we can simply go to this drop down and choose it from here. Great. So you might find that very handy. Alright, what I'm going to go ahead and do now is delete this so we can go back to Edit Track Set, select the track set, and choose Delete. Next to this we have different filters. So one allows us to filter between just selected tracks. Another allows us to show the objects that are actually selected. And then the next allows us to see all animated tracks. So you might be working with either the button to the far right or the far left, mostly. And then next we have our key stats. This is going to show us the frame that our keys are on, as well as the value of our key. So selecting this key here that is currently on frame 60, as we can see, the value of 423. If we wanted to see this from our graph work view, we can actually use this button right next to it. Okay. Great. And then what we have as well is our different view tools for panning and for just viewing our keyframes, and we'll take a look at that later as well. But that's a quick overview of the curve editor, and we're really going to spend a lot of time for the remainder of our training, at least for a few more lessons, just making sure that we are familiar with the tools here, as it's going to make a whole world of a difference to how we animate our characters and props within our scene. So that finishes this lesson, and in the next lesson we're actually going to go through the different tangent types Max provides us with.